Welcome to part 5 of Combating Medical Tyranny. And tonight's subject, or today, depending on when you're viewing this, is a subject very dear to my heart. It's about protecting boys and girls from medical tyranny and from the inhumane treatment that's being meted out at schools across the globe, not just in this country. So we're going to have a look at, our starting point is your child is threatened at school with the usual nonsense, lateral flow testing, mask wearing, vaccination threats, all kinds of things that are aimed at basically dehumanizing at the very least. And there's probably more nefarious or darker agendas in play as well. So what can you do? Well, the first response really is the common sense one: pull your boy or girl out of school. And you may say, well, isn't schooling compulsory? Well, I'm here to tell you, as the author of a book on education, the schooling system, called School No Place for Children, schooling is certainly not compulsory. If you know your law in this country, we have the Education Act 1996, Section 7, which states quite categorically that it's not schooling that's compulsory, but education. In a nutshell, your remedy is to go private. And what that means in practical terms is submitting or sending a letter of deregistration to the school. A template of such a letter is in the back of the book, and we'll post it on various platforms like BitChute and YouTube. That will enable you to retrieve sovereignty and authority over your boy or girl and allow them to stay at home out of harm's way. To supplement that or to complement that, you can put up a privacy notice. Basically, a privacy notice is on your front door. It simply says, as I have on mine, private by appointment only. And if somebody does come knocking at the door, nobody's knocked on my door for many years. If someone does come knocking at the door, you can speak from behind the door and say, can you see that sign? Yeah. You're welcome to make an appointment, but it will cost you 20,000, 30,000. You make your own price, £20,000 per visit. That should put them off. Once you're, the other aspect of privacy is to stand under general data protection regulation. What that means is if you get letters or emails or telephone calls, somebody in the authority, the council or the school is acting without your consent, is operating and processing your data without your explicit consent. That is a breach of the General Data Protection Regulation, otherwise known as GDPR. They will soon stop. If you send them a letter informing them that they don't have your consent, and that if they continue to pester you with unwarranted, unjustified communication, they are committing potentially criminal offences, including offences under the Harassment Act, Protection from Harassment Act 1997. Critics will say, and you will be surrounded by critics, what are you doing keeping your boys and girls at home? The answer to that, as you'll find in the book, is that education is not something that takes place at school very, very often. Education is actually life. You get your education from life itself. And the classroom is, in fact, the planet. So what you're doing is you're taking your boy or girl out of a sterile, dehumanizing environment and putting them like a plant into an environment in which they can thrive and grow, which doesn't happen at school. And it's certainly in the current climate, with all this tyrannical maneuvering, expecting them to hide their face, not to talk to their classmates, move around, ask for permission for absolutely everything. No human could thrive in that environment. It's a prison. It's an anti-humanitarian. Well, in a nutshell, it's a crime against humanity. Why would you put your boy or girl through that living hell is my question. Another aspect of schooling I'd like to address, it's addressed in the book, but I'll just give you a heads up. There are certain myths about schooling. Myth number one is it's where children receive education. Well, I think we've really covered that. It really isn't. And if you study not just my book, but the work of John Taylor Gatto, who wrote two books in particular called Weapons of Mass Instruction and Get Your Kids, that's what the Americans call their children, get your kids out of public school now, public meaning of the state school. And he was at pains to say that there is a dark agenda in the schooling system. It's designed to control children, control their minds, to minimize their growth, to indoctrinate them, to traumatize them. When children are traumatized, they leave school with their personalities fragmented. And that makes them vulnerable to some of the nonsense that then happens later in life. And it ends up by making them fearful, ignorant. They don't know the law. They don't know how to look after themselves. They know very little. Everything that they've been taught is of no use whatsoever, which is the meaning of academic. Academic, when you look at it in the Oxford English Dictionary, translates as of no practical value. So would you be happy knowing that your boys and girls are going to leave school after 10 to 15 years of pretty much wasting their own time, leaving school with nothing of any practical value? Now, social skills is the other myth. This is where children are allegedly sent to learn social skills. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not what happens. Small-scale studies have shown that, if anything, the contrary is true. Keep boys and girls at home and they will thrive in the company of other adults, older boys and girls, different people with different life experiences. They'll be able to develop their curiosity for learning. And you could argue that death is when the curiosity for learning ceases. That's when a living death starts to set in and life becomes almost unlivable. Another tip I can give you is to mind your language. If you're maintaining privacy and asserting sovereignty, then you have to use the language of a sovereign. For example, do not refer to yourself as a parent. You're a mother and a father, or mother or father if it's a single parent in inverted commas family. The difference is that parent is a legal fiction title. If you want to know more about legal fiction titles, then please watch other videos in the series, particularly Know Your Rights, or any video from other sources on common law and the legal fiction fraud. There's plenty, there's hundreds of these videos. So you are not a parent, neither is your boy or girl a child. These are two-dimensional paper descriptions. And when a head teacher recently said to a mum, "We own your child," it was technically true, legally and technically true. If all the boy or girl does is respond to the full legal name, which is owned by the government, it's Crown copyright, then they in effect become a child. That child is registered. Anything that's registered belongs to the entity at which the name is registered, in this case, the school, as agent or on behalf of the government. And so the child technically is owned by the school. Again, please don't refer to your son or daughter as your child, because again, you're falling into the trap and you subject yourself to their rules. So it's really all about reasserting sovereignty and ownership. Another way to do this is to avoid the use of I, me, my, and use we, our, us if you're corresponding. That will retain sovereignty. Have you ever heard the Queen say I, me, or my? She says we, our, and us. So the minute you say I, me, my, they may not know this, but it really does help to maintain sovereignty. And there's lots of tricks, tips, and hacks that I don't have time to give you now. They are included on a private course, and you can look me up and sign up for a private course. Another tip I can give you is if you are put under pressure to justify your decisions, first of all, always give conditional acceptance of anything. If for some reason you haven't pulled out of school, give, as you'll see from other clips, never refuse anything, always give conditional acceptance, but make the conditions impossible to satisfy. Another tip is if you're challenged about your child or your status as a parent, then reclaim ownership by, again, being mindful of language and ask, are you claiming ownership of our boy or our girl? Or are you claiming title to our son or daughter? In other words, they are threatening vaccination, mask wearing, isolation, rapid lateral flow testing. And you simply remind them using language. This is the power of the spoken word, using language, that they have no proprietary right over your boy or girl. You don't actually have to go as far as deregistering and pulling the boy or girl out. But if you don't pull the boy or girl out, what we're finding is that they will be ostracized. The peer group pressure to conform is now unbearable. They will be ostracized. They will be black sheeped, if that is even a phrase. They'll become the black sheep of the class. They will be shunned by their fearful classmates, and their life will be made a living hell by the school and or by their peer group. Why would you want to put them through that? Finally, there are situations that do not have an immediate solution. For example, both parents can, or neither parent can agree with each other. So both parents are not in agreement. One wants to deregister and the other one is absolutely hell-bent on everything, keeping the boy or girl in school, vaccinating, testing, everything. So this is a dynamic that can't be resolved easily. What I recommend you do is email the People's Lawyer, which is info@thepeopleslawyeruk.com, and I will endeavor to help you resolve this very, very complex and tricky situation. I don't give legal advice, but I will signpost you. I'll give you the kind of information that will help you resolve this predicament. Well, that's all I have time for now. I hope that's helped. The children, well, the boys and girls, I should say. Forgive me for using the word children, but sometimes old habits die hard. Boys and girls are our future. We owe it to them to make sure they're safe. Certain people are now written off because they've opted for vaccines and for everything. But boys and girls, we mustn't enforce anything on them. We would be aiding and abetting the crime against humanity, the crime against boys and girls that's currently taking place and has been taking place for a long time, but it's now being accelerated and aggravated. So thank you again for watching. Please watch out for more videos in this series, Combating Medical Tyranny, and from the People's Lawyer on the People's Lawyer YouTube channel, BitChute channel, Telegram channel, and on the website, which soon to be going live. But you can subscribe to participate and be updated. www.thepeopleslawyeruk.com. Thank you very much and see you soon.